Hey everyone that will be joining us because currently no one's on the stream. We're getting ready, me and Jacob this time. Always a pleasure to have you.
Yep. Everybody, to those of you that are here, not sure if any of you are here yet. But yeah, it's going to be a cool stream today.
It's going to be a little different, tiny bit different.
Yep.
And we have one viewer. Hey, one viewer. There's two of you. All right.
I think it's you and me.
I don't think I'm watching it this time, but
Oh,
yeah,
not.
because I have the chat on Decentology. All right, in three,
Oh, okay.
2, 1, boom. Hey everyone, my name is Morgan, and with me today is Jacob from Decentology, and this is the Flow Developer Hours for Mercury Hackathon episode. Which one do you think it is, Jacob?
9.
Episode
9.
9. You guessed it. Oh.
Nice.
So we've done 8 of these, and today, since it's a Monday, and the Mercury Hackathon attendees had a lovely set of presentations on Saturday from Jacob, including the Death Sorter demo that we did. So it's going to be a lighter stream, right, Jacob?
Yep, it's going to be a lighter stream. So everyone, my name is also Morgan, and thank you to those of you that are joining. Yeah, it'll be a lighter stream today. Just going to talk about some stuff, hence the backwards hat here. We're just chilled.
Yeah. Not everything about development on Flow is hats down, heads down, pencils in hand, and coding every day. You have to step back a little bit, take in some perspective, and let Skype ruin the OBS screen, because that's what happens. Oh dear. So hey, Amethyst.
Here comes the door.
Here comes the door. Hey, Amethyst. Nice to have you on the stream.
Amethyst.
Jacob's gonna be like a little squished in right here. So yeah, like Jacob, you even on weekends, you code Cadence, right?
Yeah, I was actually coding some Cadence this weekend. I was making a new module for the Hyperverse.
And is it something that you enjoy doing on your free time?
Yeah, I mean, the way I code is I tend to do a lot of my coding at night. So it's just a fun fact about me, but I love listening to lo-fi, which is like a genre of music, I guess. So what I'll do is like at, I don't know, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. It's Morgan, it's so funny because while I'm talking, I see myself like ricocheting across the screen. But anyway, yeah, I'll just like at 9 or 10 o'clock just turn on some lo-fi, start coding some Cadence, and I'll code till like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I honestly love it. It's like a very peaceful and quiet time of the day. So hey everyone, hey Justin, thanks for tuning in again. Hey NDI.
Justin's always got our back. Yeah, so lo-fi is something I enjoy too. Although, I have to say, sometimes I just want to keep it quiet. Like, nothing at all in the background. I guess it depends if you're in the flow or not. And if you get in the flow with some lo-fi, that's the way to go.
Yep.
Do you have a channel that you listen to? Is it Spotify, YouTube? What do you do?
Yeah, there's actually one, I think it's called Chilled Cow. I'm not sure, but that's like the name of the channel, and no, it's actually called Lo-Fi Girl, and it's just like I don't know, it's just like an infinite loop of lo-fi going, and I love it. I love just being able to sit there and listen to it. It's so relaxing for me.
And what kind of setup do you have when you're working on Cadence? Just a Mac?
Yeah, so I got I tried to make the transition to Windows, but it was near impossible because Windows is just so annoying. But so yeah, I usually will just have my laptop here. I plug my laptop into like a secondary monitor here, and so I just code on both my laptop and that monitor. and it's great.
So you use
I
one screen for the editor, and the other one for what? For
Yeah, so usually I have like my VS Code on the Final Fantasy. But usually I have my VS Code on like the big screen, and then on my little screen I have like my email, like my lo-fi whatever, my messages or whatever, so I can just look, back and forth.
cool. And is it HK? How are you? Um,
What's up, HK?
so your setup is like mainnet, testnet. You use the command line. How do you, or like when you're writing code, you got to deploy it, right? So how do you go through?
Yeah, so when I'm writing code, it's all on mainnet. So every time I make a change, everything breaks.
Because we
No,
all know
it's
that mainnet is widely available on Flow.
yeah, mainnet is very available for all to use. If you want to deploy your contract, there's no review
No
process
review.
necessary. You just deploy right to yeah, no, that's all a lie. Hey everybody.
So yeah, today we're doing a lively stream to get our week going. Development is not just about the code; it's about getting some perspective, and we're sort of chatting about things that we do when we code. And Jacob was just telling us how he works on mainnet exclusively. So please continue.
Yeah, so like I was saying before, everything's deployed right to the main net. If I accidentally transfer 2 billion tokens, I just shrug it off and say whatever. It just happened.
Right, but for real though, you,
Uh,
you work on the emulator.
yeah, so emulator, at least when well, actually, my first step is usually like I'll just be writing contracts, and I'll just use like the VS Code, like cadence extension just to see the compile time errors in my code. And then once I want to start actually running transactions and scripts, then I'll boot up like a dApp project, and start putting my contracts in there, run some transactions and scripts all in the emulator, and then when I actually start testing, I'll boot up like my own like React application that I set up, plug the contracts in there, deploy them to the Flow view source, load up a Blockto wallet on testnet, and just start running transactions. Um, but that's usually like way down the road.
And you're always interacting with flow users because this is a pattern that I've personally never used before.
Mhm.
Deploying contracts, but I guess this is pretty easy, right? You just sort of log into to
Yeah.
Blockto and you can copy paste, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I like about the Flow view source so much. I just like to load up the Flow view source page, log into my Blockto wallet, go to my account, and then boom, you can just deploy right on there. So it's super easy. Although I know you can deploy contracts to testnet using like the Flow JSON, right? I know you showed that during the
Yeah,
Fast Forward bootcamp. Yeah.
it's just you
Yeah.
do flow project deploy one liner, and
Yeah.
so yeah. I
Yeah.
guess I prefer that method because it's I don't have to go open up a site and log in and experience all that, but some people do enjoy the graphical user interface, right? For things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another really cool thing for testnet is that you can use FlowScan. You can go to testnet.flowscan and inspect
True.
transactions and see the current state. So it's a useful tool. I believe I used FlowScan over this weekend like a billion times to facilitate some transactions I was doing. Um,
Oh yeah.
it's
Interesting.
a nice system, and it's like you updates the state really nicely. Like last time we were discussing things like, oh hey Mayrab on Slack. I
Hey, Mira.
promise after this I'll get back to you on the command line passing dictionaries on the command line. Um,
The question of the
yeah, the
year.
question of the year.
Hey, Brainchild.
Um, so yeah, what was I saying? Oh, the
Low scan.
yeah. So the user interface part of just letting you know how things are moving. First it gets submitted, and if you have an execution error, if that is resolved, and you get to execute it and sealed and so forth. So it's a really nice system. Like I enjoy it a lot more than I enjoy EtherScan, for example, even though those are sort of similar products, and the other one's like much older. So whoever implemented
Yeah.
FlowScan did a really good job.
Yeah, I think it's actually I'm not positive about this, but I believe that the person who made FlowScan was actually like a community rep in on the Flow team named Yonder. So every in the Discord you'll see sometimes there's someone named Yonder on, and yeah, that person made it. So they did. Yeah, I agree. They did a good job.
For
Um,
real? Let
even
me
though I
actually check. Is one person made it? That's amazing. It's really
Yeah, so if you go to the Flow Discord and go to the right side, you'll see the community managers. They're all in yellow, and one person named Yonder. That's the person that did it.
right. It
So
says so. Yeah, yonder code.
yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah,
kudos.
Yonder's a legend. Yeah.
Legendary. We aspire to make code like that too. At Dapper Lab,
Yeah.
at Decentology with Dap Starter, and one of the things that we're building and we're really excited about shipping as soon as possible is version 2 of Dap Starter. This is something that our team's very focused on, sort of bringing home the experience of just click click and you're there, instead of having to fumble through a lot of the setup that early adopters have to go through.
Mhm.
Just we're curious if anyone in the chat um, could share their experience, whether they prefer command line, graphical user interface for their what they're doing. That'd be great. Merab says that he solved it already. Man, I wanna. Uh,
I'm curious. What's the solution?
yeah, sharing is caring, and please let the community know how you solved it. Not everyone's gonna use the command line, but some people are easier accustomed to that.
I've always been a big command line person. I don't know why. I always like command line. It feels more like official to me and hackery. I like
Yeah,
it.
because you're communicating like directly. There's no like
Third party or
yeah,
something.
there's nothing in between. There's no service in between. You're just directly sending some commands. Even though, I mean,
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're sending some text to be interpreted. So Amethyst is using command line. Yeah, it's like
Yep.
once you go with command line, going back is like very limiting, since you can customize anything you want with the command line.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like even with stuff like Git, like I won't use like the GitHub desktop thing. I'll just in my terminal I'll be like Git add period Git commit dash am. Like
Here's a question
I've
for
always been
you.
that type.
So Git is an extremely powerful tool, right? It's got
Yeah.
layers and layers and layers to it. Um, what commands like do you use daily from Git?
For Git, I mean I use probably a total of okay maybe five. I use Git init, which is just you make the new repo. Git add period. I just add all. Git commit, which is just you commit your files. Um, Git uh, Git push, which just pushes. Git pull, and then the last one I use is a special command. It's rm space dash rf space dot git, and that removes the current repository. And every time I type that, I'm like, oh my god, I know so much about Git, but I just use that if I'm like resetting a repository and like all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Oh, and then the other one I use is git remote add origin, and then like the link.
Yeah, I feel like that's what most people use, right? You don't rebase your stuff too often. Although a nice tool in your toolkit is using branches. So checking out creating new branches when you're working on a team. Uh, Carrie is asking a question. Hey, can you experts please explain how can I send NFT to my Flow account? We are stuck. Tried to read guides and watch YouTube videos about it, but cannot advance. Oh dear. It's
So what? Yeah, what kind of what kind of NFT is this, and where did you acquire it?
and more importantly, are you coming from this from a developer perspective, where you're creating code, or you're using someone else's? Because what I can show you right now is we're going to open up an NFT project on Playground, something that you can do. Um, and let's deploy this V2 right here. And really it comes down to setting up your account, number one, and then interacting with the contract. So we'll have to wait for some confirmation there, clarification. Meantime, Mirab has shared the solution. So it's just using double quotes for everything and escaping the double quotes inside of the JSON. Sweet. And then he has a question: is DAppStarter 2 coming with composable smart contract option? Jacob, I know this is something you're very passionate about for including or not including into DAppStarter.
So yeah, that is actually the entire point of the second DAppStarter here. There's still a lot to kind of unravel and talk over, but the whole point is that the second DAppStarter, well, at least currently, when you go on DAppStarter, you select certain modules or foundations like kitty items or pack NFT. The idea is that the second DAppStarter will be entirely powered by the Hyperverse. So for those of you that don't know, the Hyperverse is aims to be the largest network of composable smart contracts ever across every chain. And so the second DAppStarter will have the ability to pull from the Hyperverse and use composable smart contracts so that, they're all deployed on chain. You could write your own contracts, interact with them. And, on DAppStarter, there will also be some sort of UI that indicates, maybe some sort of review process or, how many tokens you have and some cool UI to do all that. So, and it will also hopefully have some sort of capability to, actually, no, I'm not going to say that because it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so that is the hope. And I'm really looking forward to that.
But we are discussing things like separating the creation process of a smart module on Hyperverse versus the usage. So version 2 of DAppStarter will include the usage part, so you'll be able to deploy smart contracts, but you won't be able to develop those per se.
Exactly, yeah. So we'll have some sort of separate, we don't know what it is yet, but some sort of separate thing where, if you want to actually develop modules for the Hyperverse, it'll have some nice tools to help you do so. Maybe some, it'll specify some requirements you have to meet. And, when you actually go to submit your module, there'll be some review process or some auditing that takes place and all that. And then as a, one third thing, I know this is kind of going beyond your question, but one third thing is that there will be some sort of website for the Hyperverse where you can actually go and explore all the modules and, some sort of dashboard that indicates, how many tokens you have and what's your reputation and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot to come.
So it's just a preview, and we'll have sessions and announcements when we have presentations for that. But if you want to get involved in the process of creating it before it's out, we have working group sessions, me and Jacob, and then we have Friday sessions for everyone in the collective. So reach out, and we'll share some links to those on Slack. All right, so going back to Kari's question, how do you read and send and transact with NFTs? So this is just a quick sample here. We have this play.onflow.org playground, and this example NFT has nothing but an ID, okay? And then it sets up a collection where you can store those NFTs. And then some other logic. But in essence, it all comes down to saving the collection in an account's storage and then creating a capability to then receive those NFTs. And we set up an account. And we went through this in a previous developer hours, but we set it up with a transaction authorized by the account that's setting up the collection. We do a save and a link, So save, it puts some data into the account storage. Link just creates a capability so that later down the line anyone um, can create references to the underlying data through an interface that we provide. And I went ahead and minted some NFTs, and here we can see how the transfer part works. So in the prepare section, we go ahead and withdraw a single NFT. Okay. And then the execute section, we get the account for the recipient, and we grab the capability that we originally wanted, and then we get the reference from it using the borrow call, and then we go ahead and deposit into the receiver collection. So there's two parts to receiving. One is being able to withdraw something from a collection. By something, I mean an NFT, right? And then being able to deposit. So withdrawing requires authorization. Depositing does not. If the account has set up the capability, which means that they have set up a collection with their storage. And we were able to print the NFTs that are with each one of these accounts. So account 1 has no NFTs, account 2 has 1 and 2. We can go ahead and transfer number 1 from 1 to from the 02 account to 01 account. So let's go ahead and transfer it, and we did. So let's clear this and print it again. So account 2, all right. So account 1 has the NFT that we just transferred, and account 2 will not have the NFT that we transferred from it.
Yeah, I'm still really curious to see what Carrie was referring to.
Yeah, I mean, these things. I love how the console here stopped scrolling, and it doesn't have the scroll bar hides. Anyhow, you can see that now both accounts have an NFT each. And so we leveraged the fact that we set up 01 and we set up 02 with collections. 02 was able to mint some NFTs and then withdraw them and deposit them with the collection. So that's that story. And again, for everyone just joining us, today's a lighter stream for the Flow Developer Hours. We're just jamming with Jacob here on things that we do, things that we suggest you do, and our experience and so forth. So feel free to ask any kind of question. I'm going to revert back to the central view here. Yeah, so Carrie, if at any point during the stream you want to further ask some questions, we're here.
Yep. What are you drinking there, Morgan?
Oh, it's coconut water.
Coconut, nice.
Yeah, coconut water. A little sweetened, not too much. What are we guys covering today? Well, Jacob, we're covering our experience being Flow developers, what we do on off days, and so forth. So this is a lighter stream. We don't want to pack too much, right? We had a Saturday with you guys where you learned about estuary from Filecoin, which was a lovely presentation.
Great job by Jimmy. Yep.
Jimmy knocked it out of the park. We did some live coding there, fixed some stuff with React. That's always a blast. And then we had Jacob do an awesome presentation on Dapp Starter.
Yeah,
How many of you guys were
yeah.
there?
It was
I know that a fair few were. We had like almost 30 people tuning in, so that's always nice.
yeah, it was a solid amount.
Do you remember anything about the Shuri thing? How to set it up? Did you get a chance to test it out, Jacob?
No, I didn't get a chance to test it out. And I don't have too much experience with IPFS to know exactly like how to get started with it. But I know that Jimmy had shown, like a sort of like sign up form, and that was pretty cool. So if I ever need to use that, I'm definitely going there to do it.
Mayrab is saying that he was there. Um, I got an invite, set it up, and tried uploading a PNG, pretty small file, and it was a curious process where they were sort of fetching deals, right? So essentially distributing that file on their network. And one thing that kind of bothered me was the speed at which that happened. It took a while. So
Mm.
it's not like you can sort of upload the thing and then it's there immediately. You have to wait a little bit. Maybe it's related to how much you're paying. Although he didn't discuss any payment related things, right? For
Yeah, I didn't see anything about that.
there's always the incentive, right? You want to incent,
Oh, it's the incentive.
yeah. So yeah, Ashuri was cool. Did any of you guys get to try out Dapp Starter? It was like something to behold. Just click, click, click. No code to be written,
Bing, bing, bing.
and we were minting stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait for the day that we have this sort of second depth that are going because could you imagine the demos we're going to be doing? Like you go on the website, boom, here's your project, and you can pull from millions and hundreds of thousands of modules that are already deployed. It's crazy.
Yeah, leveraging existing stuff is incredibly powerful. Just like can you imagine working on a JavaScript project and not importing like React or Express or
Yeah.
it's like we sometimes like we're prisoners of the moment, right? We see the way things are, and it's kind of hard to imagine them in a different light. But we're at a point with Cadence, especially, and even for a lot of the other chains too, where we're literally working as if we were working with Node.js without any kind of non-standard libraries. It's like we're developing everything,
Yep.
and that's crazy. Um, but we're part of the ecosystem. We're pushing it forward, and this is how it evolves. Curious to hear what you guys are struggling with. If there's like a common thing that keeps pestering you when you're working on Cadence workflow. Um, I know personally, like transitioning away from testnet to the emulator, having that set up properly, and managing addresses and those kinds of things can be a sort. Because unlike Solidity, you're importing your contracts not as source code, but as living and breathing entities that exist with other accounts. You're not importing just the source code, right?
Yeah.
You're importing state with that too, and state is always tricky. So Jacob, I remember during Fast Forward, you gave a demo about, I think it was access control, right? Flow has
Mm-hmm.
an elaborate scheme for access control,
Yeah.
and I remember,
There's a lot going on there.
yeah, and I remember one item that you used was you were sending a script that modified a contract variable. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was extremely curious to me because I was always under the impression that you cannot mutate the state using a script.
Hmm.
And I gave it a shot. I tried it, and the state doesn't really change beyond the script. Sort of, if you run the script again, I get the value that was there previously. Do you have a
Yep.
comment on that?
Yeah, so the comment on that is that I was probably really tired that morning and had no and didn't really think about that. But no, the truth is the that example that I was using with the script, I was just using it to kind of show like compile errors. So in the sense that, if you run that script, and your variable X is, for example, public set where you can change it anywhere outside the contract. Um, in your script, it allows you to change it, and that was like kind of the point, in the sense that like, if like there's no like compile error there because it's publicly settable, so you can change it. But yes, like after the script is run, scripts don't actually change the state of the blockchain because they're non-paid, and so you can't actually modify the blockchain at all. But yeah, the intent there was mostly just to show that like you can access and change that variable, but it doesn't actually change after the
I had to
fact.
do a double take when I saw it because I was like, man, this seems unnatural because you're executing contracts without authorizing as a user. So then the chain is mutable by anonymous calls, and it's essentially like a black hole of curiosity.
Yeah, no, you're totally right though.
So I mean, cadence is evolving, right? And another thing that I learned in practice is that allegedly, and this is some coming from a third party, but the way fees are set up right now, they're not. And we are getting fees, right? We're I believe it's October 16th when fees come online on the mainnet, but there will be a fixed fee for everything, right? It'll be 0 point and then four
Hmm.
zeros, one flow per transaction. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob.
Hmm.
Um,
No, I trust you more than me on this subject.
you shouldn't trust no one. Um,
Trust
trust
nobody.
nobody, not even yourself, especially not yourself. So that is like an error. That's an outcome that's not by design. Having fixed gas fees for everything in the future, the way I understand it, gas fees will become dynamic, dependent on the operations that you're executing, kind of like Ethereum, where
Hmm.
um, your gas fees can blow up depending on how many contracts you're how many things you're reading and writing and what kind of variables are you interacting. So, Carrie's,
So
yeah, Jacob, please.
I was gonna say, yeah, Kerry says there's loads of talk about cadence staking and delegating. How about just simple steps how to receive and send further NFTs? Hard to find step-by-step guides about it. So, yeah, one of the things we were wondering about was, where is this question sort of coming from? Because if we had an example, it'd be easy to answer. But we could also pull up. Morgan was also actually showing a playground example earlier of how to send your NFTs around.
So I
Um,
have that
but yeah.
open on the screen right now, but I believe Carrie might be coming from a different place as a user. For example, you have a Top Shot account. How do you send and receive NFTs? Well, the thing about Top Shot accounts is they're um, custodial accounts by Dapper Labs, right? So you technically cannot go past Dapper Labs and send and receive NFTs directly. You have to go through them as a central authority to be able to do that. And this is regulatory stuff that I'm not privy to, but the way I understand it is you simply can't do that with NBA Top Shot, right? It's all locked up within Dapper Labs, and you can log in and do changes through their interface, and it shows up on the explorers and everything, but it's not something that can be done without Dapper Labs. And these custodial type of contracts. Um, yeah, Amethyst is totally right. Everything is done on the site.
Yep.
And personally, this is not to my taste, right? I'm not like a huge fan of custodial stuff. Um, but this is sort of the transitory state that we're in when it comes to blockchain ownership and especially in the U.S. market. Jacob, do you have a Top Shot account?
I do have a Snapchat account. I was super into it like many months ago.
Many moons
When
ago.
yeah, many. I actually remember when Top Shot was in like very, very early beta, like when they actually like had just opened it up. I remember I was one of the first accounts on it. And I kind of look back and I regret not buying those initial packs because man, I would have made so much money. But I was super into it for a while, and I was on the platform when it like reached its peak, um, which I believe was in like maybe like February, March or something. And ever since then, it was it was on like a slow decline, and now it's kind of leveled out. But I have not been on Top Shot in a few months now because after the big boom, I kind of just lost a little bit of interest. But I mean, it's great.
Um, Here's my account. I have a few items there. I started on NBA Top Shot um, around March of this year when I found out about Flow. Curious enough, like I first found out about Flow, and then I created a Top Shot, not the other way around, because a lot of people have discovered Flow through Top Shot.
hmm
Um, yeah,
We should look at Nick's account.
how do I find?
In the URL where it says at
Yeah,
Morgan Wild, just put at Nick.
just Nick. Oh man.
Yeah.
All right. 27,000 collector score. 430.
I think if you go on like those like analysis sites, I think it's like a top like 0.0001% account.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
Nick's selling some moments too.
Yeah, so go purchase from Nick.
Oh my lord. So anyway, the way maybe Top Shot works is it's custodial. Now something like, and I'm gonna show this product a little bit since it's totally free and on testnet. So artist.flowdeveloper.com is something where you can go ahead and mint pictures like these, like these W's and X's and hearts. Isn't that pretty? And
Yep.
it's fully non-custodial. So whatever you have in your account, you can interact with it directly. Nothing's preventing you from calling these methods outside of artist.flowdeveloper.com. So I mean, really, these are just two sides of the same coin, right? Custodial and non-custodial. And Carrie, you're probably interacting with a custodial NFT, um, either marketplace or product. And if you were to let us know the brand, maybe we could help you out on this one. Nick's collection is crazy, Mirab. I mean, Nick is an NFT connoisseur. That person is a legend. So, um,
Yeah.
this is just
I got to
yeah.
I was gonna say it's hit the time I have to head off. But I enjoyed this so much today. It was so nice just to talk.
That's sad. Jacob has to leave, but yeah, it was fun for everyone. I hope. I'm gonna continue for another 20-ish minutes. We're just gonna send off Jacob. Farewell and
Yep.
have a good one.
Farewell, everybody.
Bye, Jacob.
There's my salute. Bye.
All right. So while I'm here by myself, let me hide Jacob's face. 27BCJ is asking a noob question, supposedly, on Windows. There's no noob questions, let me tell you. This is all good questions. So how to get around this error? PS VS Code extension executable file not found. That is a good question. Let's see here. If we go to our fast forward guide, week 1, and this setup right here, syntax, environment. So did you go and set this up? 27 BCJ. I wish I had a better name to it. But essentially, going through the Windows section, being able to run flow version, and getting a proper output is a sign that you're on the right track. And there's also an accompanying video here, a set of videos. Oh, Bruce. Hey, Bruce. Really, really nice to meet you. So there's videos in this top section here. And I have a Windows section here specifically for setting up your environment. And maybe that'll help. Because what it seems, if I'm reading it right, is you haven't set up your flow environment correctly or fully. So yeah, maybe. Yeah, definitely go through. There's 4 of them, I think. The first one is the one that you want to do for sure, and then see where that takes you. All right, yeah, it's always good to ask questions. There's no noob questions. There's no silly questions or questions that are too far along. The worst thing that anyone can do is they can stop asking questions, and then the learning stops and you get discouraged. So please keep asking questions. And I see Mayrab is typing something out. We're just gonna wait for that to come out. But yeah, Carrie, really interested in the platform that you're working with, and maybe we can help you out once we know the name. I'm personally interested in the kind of environments you're working in. So I know that there's a lot of Windows questions coming in. I'm getting the sense that a lot of you are working on Windows. And this is something that we don't do that much at Decentology. We're mostly working on Macs and Linux computers. Yeah, so like a lot of developer tools, and this just isn't specific to blockchain, but a lot of the developer tools are created by people that are using Unix-like systems, Mac OS or Ubuntu or any other kind of Linux distro, and they're debugged in those environments. And Windows is a totally different environment, even though there's some similarities there. By following the POSIX system or standard, but those differences sometimes are critical, and some tools just don't work. There is the Windows Unix Linux layer thing. I can't remember exactly the name, but that helps. And if you can enable that, or the Windows Linux subsystem. Let me look that up. I think it's WSL. Yeah. So Windows 10, and then you go ahead and run this command in your PowerShell, setting up your users and stuff. So maybe this is something that you want to do to better prep your environment for development. And I'm assuming, yeah, thanks Mayrab, it's WSL. I'm assuming that since a lot of you are working with in a Windows environment, this is something that we might need to talk about more and provide more guidance. Because most of our guidance has been up to this point related to Mac OS. Oops. let's do a quick poll here. What kind of OS are you guys running? Mayrab, Windows, I presume. Windows 10, right? Justin, what about you? I know you're listening, right? When we're doing testing for DevStarter, we start with Mac OS and Ubuntu. So we got Windows 10, Windows 10 by Mayrab. Wow, we're getting fully outnumbered with Windows folk. So I guess these streams should take place in a Windows environment. We all of us have Windows machines available, and maybe for tomorrow we get into those shoes and see how that works. Because not everything you can adapt, especially command line related stuff. Although we're not really dealing with a lot of complex command line items. And for DevStarter, the next version of that product, we have deployed Docker containers, and those containers abstract away a lot of the operating system features and allow us to just deploy with what we are used to, and you run it in an abstract environment. So Bruce is saying that he's trying to play around with AWS workspace configuration as a Linux box, but it is another learning curve. Well, it is a learning curve, but it is a learning curve that is most definitely useful. And I can go ahead and give you some pointers right now on sort of what's required when setting up a Brainchild is on Windows too. So like everyone's on Windows. This is nuts. Yeah, we gotta adjust. Thanks for letting us know. Oftentimes we're oblivious to what our community is using. So let me see here. I want to do like a quick demo on for example, setting up artist.flowdeveloper.com, right? So in here, we have a domain with a subdomain pointing to some kind of a service, right? A Node.js process. To get this running, and we need a persistent server. And I'm not using AWS, I'm using DigitalOcean, but it's a similar kind of story. So here I am logged in to my server, and it's a Linux system, right? We can go into apps, and we can go into trunk, and let me see. Okay. So we got our Flow Developer Artist, and let me see. So we have this process running, and I'm just going to confirm by logging in a second time that I can start and stop it. Just one moment. All right. So I'm using a thing called PM2. Which is a process manager for Node.js processes, and it keeps these things alive, right? So when you start a process, like a website or a service, an API, that kind of thing, you want to keep it running. And I have a number of these running, and I can go ahead and stop the Flow Developer Artist process, and that's ID number 5. And if we go to the site now, we get a bad gateway, right? And I'm using Nginx to point incoming traffic to my localhost port. And so what I'll go ahead and restart 5. Okay, So now if I was restarted and I can reload my site. Windows 10, price $9.99 is yours. We have one. That's an interesting. And you have a few. A sad smiley face, sort of a sleepy one, I guess. Interesting collection, Mayrab. It's really cool. I've accumulated a lot, and I remember trying to buy up a lot of what was on offer, but someone removed them. There were a lot of numbers. So yeah, going back to the server. So I'm running PM2. So instead of just doing a node, main to run this process, I'm using PM2 to handle it. Now, PM2 and any kind of node process runs on localhost, right? It's listening in for localhost. And Nginx is a reverse proxy. So what it does, you have a server address, right? Let's say IP 10.10.5.5. And if you go to that address, you might be running 10 different processes. It's hard to know for where to go directly. And instead of using ports, because I'm not doing like port 5000 or something. Nginx takes a look at the header for the HTTP request, and it sees that it's looking for, this request is looking for artist.flowdeveloper.com. It goes into my Nginx configuration, and then it finds sites available, and then it finds artist. Let's see here. One moment. Right, so it's we go into this, and then we can open up artist.flowdeveloper. So this is the Nginx block, server block, and I'm listening in for artist.flowdeveloper incoming traffic, and then I go and point it, reverse proxy it to 3100, port 3100, and that's how you guys, when you hit this website, you're sent to the correct node process. And yeah, so Nginx plus PM2 produce that outcome. Now for security, I'm running the firewall. So I prevent anything other than HTTP and HTTPS and SSH traffic to the server. And yeah, so that pretty much takes care of the whole thing here. I don't have a database since I'm using Flow as my backing store for this website. So it's a kind of very simple stack when you think about it. And Bruce, my suggestion is to continue with the Linux box. DigitalOcean has really good guides on setting up DigitalOcean Ubuntu, for example. So this guide right here is a real treasure. So Mayrab is asking, what should the 3-minute pitch should contain? And Harish, thank you so much for answering that. It's problem and the solution, demo of your project, and next steps. And Justin just answered, he is on Windows. So we have a complete plurality and a majority of our viewers using Windows. I'm the only person literally on the stream that's not on Windows. I'm on a Mac. Yeah. Well, we're going to add more guides, and we're going to add more resources to satisfy the Windows people. Since Mayrab is asking about the pitch, I wonder what kind of state of your project you're in. Like, are you getting close to being finished? Is there a demo that we could that we could see. It's always good, like even if you're not fully ready, it's always good to show something early, get some feedback, and maybe course correct if there's something that comes up. It's a curiosity, and I suggest everyone on the stream that's here to share what they're building, even if it's in a crude state. You want to be able to get some feedback as early as possible, because when you're doing the final pitch and people are going to be judging you, you don't want to be there like, oh, I spent the last 3 weeks working on a wrong path. So yeah, this is a great time. Office hours is a great time to do that, and really any other time on Slack is a good time to share. So Mayrab says he was working to use DAppStarter and make it composable and make a composable smart contract. All right, so you're going for that track, and you're also one to IPFS. So as far as I know, you're the only person on the stream that's working on that track, and you should be well on your way to taking that one out. Justin is saying that mentor office hours are on Wednesdays. So yeah, every week, Wednesdays, we get to send calendar invites to your favorite mentor, and you can do multiple sessions per day, but there's 20-minute slots. There's 20-minute slots for each team. And you have to sign up in a Google Sheet and also send me an invite or anyone else that you're inviting for office hours. So Justin's taking care of the administrative stuff for that, and if you have any questions for how to set these meetings up, please ask Justin. It is critical because we've had this experience where people reserve their spot on the Google Doc, and then our mentors don't get an invite on their calendar, and then or there's an invite and people don't show up. Please respect others' time, and we'll reciprocate in order. Yeah. So what other tracks are you guys working on? I know what Mayrab is working on. What about Brainchild or Amethyst or Bruce? What kind of tracks are you guys working on? Have you staked out the competition, sort of got a better sense of what you want to do? Justin, I'm curious, like, at what point do you have to specify the track, and is it something that's final, or can people change it midway through? Not sure. And do you have any stats on which track is the most popular track? Amethyst is just starting fast forward. Well, that's awesome. You could probably condense it into a couple of days, maybe 2 or 3 days, and you'll get right on track. So Justin is saying you can change it midway. All right. Cool. So I would suggest experimenting, getting some early feedback, and then based on that feedback and based on your own experience, either deciding to stick with the track that you've decided on, or maybe picking something else. Brainchild says he's a newbie and he's not competing this year. Here's an advice. You're never ever too far behind to start competing in one of these things. Let me tell you, like, back in my day, I competed in a bunch of hackathons where I had no business entering, but I would just spend nights and weekends working on that stuff, and oftentimes I'd get on the podium. So literally, there's no point in waiting. And I get it. There's, the difficulty of getting started, but that's why we're here. So if you're gonna ask a ton of questions, feel free to ask those questions. But the point is to never wait. Yeah, the best time to get started was yesterday, and the next best time is today. So I always suggest that. In hackathons, especially, like at work, you kind of have this extra pressure of being able to deliver. But for a hackathon, it's a free for all. You kind of just go at it and figure your stuff on the way. So yeah, my suggestion is you're still available. Go and pick a track and let Justin know and start competing. Even though we have a lot of people, right? There's always going to be attrition until the finish line, and if you just stick around and you're persistent, you have a very good shot. I feel like. All right. So with that hopeful note, we're going to finish off today's Flow Developer Hours. It was sort of an open session today, just to get the week started. We had a ton last week, and we want to sort of ramp up this week. And we'll be building towards bigger stuff as we go along. Be sure to register for your office hours this Wednesday. Send those invites to the mentor calendars, and always ask questions on Slack. We'll get back to you as soon as we possibly can. Thanks everyone for tuning in today. Hopefully it was worth it. And yeah, from the rest of the team at Decentology and me, I appreciate you. Thanks, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.